All right, we're cruising on here. Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers, Zach Anderson, Yoxheimer, Locked On UCLA. We're talking UCLA's offense. They get rid of Tino Sunseri. You bring in Jerry Neuheisel. Why is that name familiar? Well, for UCLA fans, obviously, he is the son of Rick. He is Jerry, that iconic moment as the backup quarterback coming in from Brett Hundley. He's been around the UCLA staff for quite some time, and now he gets a chance to play call as the tight ends coach, and the Bruins are going to hire offensive analyst. I believe it's been reported out there by the LA Times that they're looking at Noel Mazzoni. I don't know if it's official yet, but that's the idea, that you might have maybe Noel Mazzoni concepts. Like, I just don't know how that meshes with the Tino offense. Mm-hmm. How much do you think, Jacob, Tino was given the reins at Indiana, and how much of this is not his fault at UCLA? We've kind of talked about that, but what do you think it was at UCLA or at Indiana? Was it more Shanahan or was it more Tino?
Well, what's interesting is they actually split duties, right? They actually split duties as play callers, offensive coordinators, where Tino was your quarterback's coach. Shanahan was other positional coaches, and they split offensive coordinator duties in terms of, like I said, play calling and coaching and who they were responsible for. And you know, it's easy to point at Tino in this situation and say, well, this was his first job as the full-time man, as the first true offensive coordinator with all the responsibilities. But are we really going to judge somebody based on just 4 games, right? 3 or 4 games in their tenure?
The way he carries himself doesn't seem like there's people you can be like, yeah, he's, you know, you could, unfortunately, we saw Deshaun Foster the first time we saw him national media wise. Didn't go so well. Tino, he just doesn't have that same vibe. Like, it looks worse because Indiana goes out there and destroys Illinois, and we're like, that's how the offense is supposed to look. That's what I was told by my UCLA buddies. That's how the offense is supposed to look.
And it will when you get players in there that are capable of doing that. But heck, you were even talking yourself about the poor offensive line and the fact that, look, I'm sorry, Nico Iamaleava is just not the answer. There's a reason he left Tennessee. There's a reason there was a problem there in Knoxville, and Josh Heupel was okay with him walking out the door because of the things he demanded and the lack of performance or lack of consistency on the football field.
Not worth $4 million.
No, not at all. And so you can't put that on Tino Sunseri. Heck, you can't even put that on Deshaun Foster 100%. He's the head coach, so he gets all the blame, of course. But for Tino, again, I just feel bad for him. I do, because I don't blame him, and I hope he gets another opportunity somewhere as a true offensive coordinator, because he was given a lot of leeway at Indiana. I don't know what his control was there at UCLA, Zach. Maybe you know that better than I do with being the full-time offensive guy and how much Deshaun Foster was involved with that. He just needs an opportunity at a place that actually cares and a place that's willing to be engaging and investing enough to be successful, especially on the offensive side of the football.
It's interesting, the indictment I had of the offense. I just talked about this on an episode right before Tino was let go, mutually parted ways. UCLA in the first quarters this year, 0 points, about 131 yards of offense. And you, in my mind, I was like, you either need to adapt well or script better, right? Mm-hmm. And we weren't really seeing that from UCLA, other than maybe a UNLV game. And that's because he only got a couple of games. We didn't see too much of that against Northwestern. The script, those first 8 to 10 plays, even coming off a bye week, wasn't working. I know UCLA's best wideout wasn't there. UCLA, you know, they have some running backs, but the O-line is just dreadful. Eric Bieniemy, one of the worst offenses in the Big Ten last year, didn't have an O-line. The Bruins switch offensive coordinator, switch O-line, you know, coaches, but it's not like they brought in a wholesale worth of talent. How much do you forgive Eric Bieniemy for being bad at UCLA now that Tino has almost been even worse? And he was supposed to be better than Bieniemy. Do we think less about Bieniemy? Like, the O-line was bad, and he had a worse quarterback. Do you think Garbers is better than Nico? That's a fun discussion. But
it's not going to happen overnight, right, Zach? That's the problem, is especially on the offensive line. My goodness, you see good offensive linemen nowadays are demanding $750,000 to $1 million plus in NIL money because they know how much they're worth.
money?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because that's how much they're worth, but you can't get all of those guys immediately or overnight. And unfortunately, a place like UCLA, it's just not the attractive place for a big-time offensive lineman to go right now. And so I don't know. Zach, do you think that UCLA people were too demanding too early? You can't start 0-3, 0-4. I get that, especially losing to the teams that you did, but I just don't know. I didn't like the Deshaun Foster hire to begin with, but in general, you got to give somebody some time, right?
I've heard, especially when I'm hearing, it seems like, should you have gotten rid of Deshaun this quickly? Or is it the AD, right? You're not getting good institutional help. They have the new chancellor who's the new head boss. You have to get rid of Martin Jarmond, and you need more support for Deshaun, and then maybe make that change. Give him more time. But clearly it was so bad. You have to prove if UCLA want to be a real program, you made that change. So the change was made. Was that the AD's call, or was that the chancellor's call? Then you go down to, hey, the coordinator. Is this the interim's call? Or he's just getting rid of the defensive coordinator, mutually parting ways, who is very popular in that locker room. Tino, from what I'm hearing, is still very popular. Here's a wise mind. He's the loud guy. Nico's not the loud quarterback. It's the offensive coordinator, Tino. If you saw any of those videos, he's the loud guy trying to instruct. He's very young. He's energetic. He's coaching for a job. He just had a kid. He just moved out here. Like he's coaching for all the right reasons. Whatever you want to talk about, he has every incentive to be good.
He's a young up-and-comer. He's a young up-and-comer.
And what changed? Well, different schemes, but UCLA still wasn't good on offense last year, and you have two different coordinators.
Right.
Now you almost think I don't think as badly about Bieniemy and Tino. So
that's when you start looking at it as an institutional problem, Zach.
And that's what it's been talked about in the Athletic. It's been talked about in the Athletic. It's been talked about how much Deshaun had to pick up the pieces because he kept all those guys together, but he lost two of his better receivers in the portal after taking over for Chip Kelly. They were almost in this disaster mode since they didn't fire Chip a couple of years ago, and Tino was welcomed into a horrible situation where you just don't think in your first job you're going to get fired after 4 games, or your head man is going to be just fired after 3.
Yeah, that's I don't know how you deal with that as a person, just as a human. Like when you said, you picked up and moved your life from Bloomington, Indiana to Los Angeles, California, which you can say is not cheap. I understand. It's not cheap. It's not easy. It's a big, big move. And you're not even halfway through your first season and you just got canned, or you parted ways, whatever language you want to use. Like, that's a major shock to you, just as a husband, as a father, as a man. Like that's a lot to take. And so I hope that these guys are all right. I hope that they are dealing with it the best that they can. And again, for Tino being my Indiana connection, of course, I hope he figures it out, man. And I hope somebody gives him a shot. And
do you think he comes back to Bloomington? Like, do you legitimately think he would get hired in the? We've seen that coaches change. Yeah. Alabama changed offensive coordinators before the national championship game because of Lane Kiffin going to be a head coach. Do you think Tino is like, let's go? The funny thing is, I don't know. I wonder what that would be like, because they will play UCLA in a couple of weeks. I wonder if they wait till after that game, if it was to happen, or if they hire him immediately, or if it's like, just go take a break, go take your buyout, take your money, and just chillax, and we'll bring you back to Bloomington.
I mean, the thing is, Mike Shanahan's done an incredible job with the offense this year, and he's the one that took over when Tino left. Shanahan took over as full-time offensive coordinator. Chandler Whitmer is the quarterback's coach right now, who has done a good job. Fernando Mendoza's playing just fine to me. So I don't know. They would have to find a new role for him, some offensive analyst or something, until they could figure out.
It's a downgrade. That'd be a severe downgrade.
That's the problem, is it's a downgrade. And I think Tino Sunseri is good enough to be an offensive coordinator somewhere. So there's a lot of schools that are going to be looking for it. And I think he'll land on his feet, is what I'll say.
All right. I guess we'll have one final debate before you go. Do you think UCLA can perform better offensively with a Mazzoni offense and Jerry Neuheisel calling the plays? Is it same? Do you think UCLA can perform any better with a fresh mindset, or is this just disaster, no points left? What do you think? What does your gut tell you?
I think it's a disaster. I don't think anything's going to change until full reset, get a bunch of new players in there. And until UCLA understands that it's going to take some time, you can't have overly high expectations, but you got to go find the man. Deshaun Foster wasn't the man. He wasn't the answer. He wasn't it. You got to go find whoever that guy is. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know what that answer is, Zach, but you got to go find that person and try to figure that out. I'm disappointed, though. I thought you were going to throw a little basketball question at me and have me talk a little basketball on the way out of here. But that's okay.
I mean, UCLA is going to beat Indiana this year. It's going to happen. It's no question about it. No question. We'll talk, but we'll have you on because for us, it's already basketball season. For us,
we're close. We got Indiana's got exhibition games this month, and then the season opener November 5th, I believe. So we're right there, man. It's here.
Well, we'll talk basketball soon. That's Jacob Goins. He's got to run on Locked On Hoosiers. Otherwise, we talk all basketball for a whole segment, but he's got to run. We'll talk basketball and more football stuff later down the line because UCLA still plays Indiana. We'll see him soon. Jacob, thanks for stopping by.
Always appreciate it.